Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another edition of the Monie Podcast. We are in season 2, and my episode today is around friendships. We're going to be talking about friendships, unfiltered, the truth about ghosting, growing, and letting go. We're going to be diving into a topic that almost everyone has experienced, but not enough of us really talk about it. Friendships, the good, the bad, the ghosting, and the lessons in between. My guest today is therapist Jodi Rouah from Counselling Co. She specializes in helping people navigate life's relationships, and she's here to help us unpack why friendships change, how to recognize a true friend, and what really happens when friendships fall apart, especially as we grow into our 40s. This conversation is going to be deep, real, and hopefully healing. Please help me welcome my guest, Jodi Rouah. Hi, Jodi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm really excited about today's episode and this topic. It's been one that's been sitting with me for quite some time. I may have to do a part 2 because it's so deep. I don't think we'll get to the many layers in our talk today, but I wanted to just start it and just really answer a few questions that a few people have sent to me, a few things that I've personally experienced, and you're just the right person to do that. So tell us a little bit about your company first and what you do.
I am a therapist. My formal training is as a social worker. And I found my way into the therapy world. And I found that a lot of what I ended up talking to people about was relationships.
Yeah.
It could be a relationship with a friend, why we're here today, a significant other, a partner, a family member. But a lot of what people come and talk to us about is relationships.
Exactly.
And so, I think I sort of just found my way to that naturally as noticing that theme, coming up over and over and over again. And I chose to pursue models of therapy that really work within a relational frame.
Nice. Yeah. And we're going to dive into some of those relationships and friendships today. Now, let's get into the foundation. How do you define true friendship, would you say?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think true friendship can probably mean maybe different things to different people. But it's those people who we just feel really aligned with. Maybe we share similar values, beliefs, right? We maybe kind of operate in the world fairly similarly. And so we can really get aligned and behind each other, how we're living out our lives, what's happening. And I think oftentimes when somebody maybe feels really aligned with us, we're more likely to, maybe take their advice.
Yeah.
Right? I think there has to be some level of alignment.
To make that a true connection, true friendship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. Why do you think friendships are so central to women's lives in particular? Like girlfriends really hold value to friendships.
Yeah. Well, we're wired for connection. Right? Human beings are absolutely wired for connection. And yes, that starts in childhood.
Yeah.
With our primary caregivers, but it evolves throughout the lifespan. And friendships become a really big part of that. And so, life can be a little bit lonely and hard. And so having people to lean on, to rely on, to call on, to turn to
we need that.
Is really essential.
Definitely.
Yeah, to surviving life.
It's true. We're wired. We definitely need that human connection. And that's why friendships, I feel, for me, are so important. Yeah. As we evolve and we get older, especially in our 40s, how would you say friendships are evolving as we go into higher age?
My mom always said to me, and I never thought I would take her advice. Here we are. That, like what you like in your 30s is different than what you like and need in your 40s. Can sometimes be different than what you like and need in your 50s. And so I think evolving with friends can be it can be a bit challenging.
Yeah, that's true.
And oh my goodness, I forget the question.
Yeah, how do you evolve as you get into those different ages? Because I know in my 20s, my friends, I noticed it started to shrink as I got older.
Yes.
And you're like...
Well, the truth is that as human beings, we actually, they say like we have space for maybe 5 people in our core circle, right? And then that can be partners and family members. And then the next kind of circle after that, we tend to have space for maybe like 15 more people.
Okay.
But the thing is that the human brain, only has a capacity to be close to so many people at once.
Okay.
And so it is hard to manage, perhaps, a lot of friendships, which I think is why in our 40s we tend to start to narrow things down a little bit and get more selective about who we let into our lives and who we're close with.
It's true. I've noticed that my circle was so big in high school. I had like a lot of friends. And my mom always said, it's not good to have so many friends. And I was like, what do you mean?
Especially at that age, right?
It's
the more the merrier.
And as I went along, it just slowly just dropped and dropped and dropped. And I was like, okay, I think now I have like maybe just a handful, maybe just 5 close niche friends, And
Which I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you kind of feel like this is as big as my circle will go. Why is it harder, though, to maintain those deep friendships as we age? Because I always wondered why it happened.
Yeah, the difficulty in maintaining friendships as we age. Yeah, well, again, I think our needs change and evolve. And so sometimes it is harder for our friendships to change and evolve with us. There's a really great poem. It's called Reasons, Seasons, and a Lifetime. And sometimes people come into our life for particular reasons. Right? Could be a particular season. And sometimes there are those really core people who are in our lives for a lifetime. But, I think about who I became really close with in my life while I was going through my master's program.
Okay.
Right? And I adored them.
Yes.
But we're not necessarily the closest today.
Yeah.
Right? And that was kind of a season.
In that moment, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true. You mentioned like friendships evolving and just realizing who you need as you get older. Gonna have my listeners listen to this clip.
I feel like we talk about this enough. Like a lot of friendships do not make it through your 40s. And I think that there are so many factors that go into that. But I think a lot of it is like in your 20s and your 30s are like the foundational times where you are really finding out who you are, right? You're building yourself, not your mama, your daddy, or whoever's version of you, but you are building yourself for yourself. So around your 40s, like life is very different. You know who you are for the most part. There are some things about you that are going to continue to change, but they're going to change in ways that are based upon who you are, right? And so it is important to realize that in your 40s, there's a really strong possibility. It's not for everybody, but there's a strong possibility that your friendships may evolve. They may get closer, and you may decide that there are some friendships you need to lovingly let go.
So basically, that clip, she's talking about friendships and how they evolve and how it gets harder as you go into age. And I thought it was very appropriate to just play that as you answered that question. I wanted to ask you, how can you tell the difference between a friendship that's worth fighting for and one that has basically just ran its course?
Yeah, I think we first of all really just want to ask ourselves why. Why are we fighting for a friendship? Has it run its course is a great question. But I think oftentimes as human beings, we really struggle to let go.
Yes.
And so, the art of letting go is difficult, and it's sometimes really painful. And so I think it makes sense that we want to prevent ourselves from experiencing as much pain as possible. Sometimes prolonging that friendship actually induces more pain than it does fulfillment.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it's, if you have a lot in common, shared values, you feel like your life trajectories are somewhat similar, perhaps similar stage, age, it can be a little bit easier to stay connected. But when people grow apart, that's the hard part.
That's the hard part. I find it so hard to let go. My mom always tells me that, let them go, move on. And you're just like, you don't understand.
If only it was easy.
It's not easy at all, and that brings me into the ghosting phenomenon that's going on right now. Why do people ghost their friends instead of just talking it out?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are terrified of conflict.
Yeah.
Or want to avoid conflict.
That's a big one.
Ghosting, I think, is
it's like an easy way out. It's like...
Yeah. I mean, it's a strategy. No judgment, I guess. But it oftentimes leaves people like, why? We open up a portion of our lives, our souls, our hearts, to people. And then for them to leave us without any... explanation or answer is incredibly difficult.
It is.
But I think most people, they just don't have the communication skills or the capacity to deal with potential conflict. And so slowly slipping away or just, ghosting, as we say, tends to be maybe a little bit easier.
A little bit easier. It's happening a lot these days. It happens in even with dating.
Yeah.
If you're dating someone and you think it's going well, then all of a sudden they don't call you anymore. They stop texting you and they just disappeared. And you just feel like, but I thought we were good. What happened?
Yeah. We don't really have scripts in our kind of culture around friendship ending.
That's true.
A relationship ending, maybe a little like romantic relationship, breakup, and even dating, right? Like we don't always assume that the person we're dating, we're going to be in contact with for the rest of our lives. With friendships, we tend to see it a little bit differently.
That's true. So would you say ghosting, is it always about the person being ghosted, or can it actually say more about the person doing the ghosting?
I think we want to be curious about both. In my couples work, I always say it sort of takes two to tango now.
Yeah.
Of course, that really depends. For sure. But I think it's about both. I think sometimes it's really hard to have difficult conversations, but relationships take work, even friendships.
Definitely.
And I think sometimes we live with this idea that friendships should just kind of evolve naturally. And the truth is that they do require work. Sometimes they require hard conversations. Right. And I think it's really hard to turn to somebody and say hey, I'm noticing that we're drifting apart. I miss you. Are you okay? Because it really could be about them.
That's true.
Maybe they're struggling with depression or, are just feeling like they have very little capacity and don't know how to talk about that. And sure, sometimes it could be something we've done. But I think the hope is in those lifelong friendships that someone will always be able to come to the table and say, hey, this happened. It made me feel bad. Can we talk about it?
And that's what I want. That's what I'm used to. I just want friends that kind of do that, instead of disappearing or having to guess what's going on, just be like, hey, can we talk about this? I have one true friend that does it. I'm going to shout her out. Kiva, you know who you are. And she'll just tell me straight up, I didn't like how you did that, or I didn't like what you said. And I'm like, really? She just checks me. And I want that instead of holding those feelings or emotions in and over time it developing into an argument or creating distance.
Resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that erodes connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really value that in friendships. And if you have a friend that really is just honest with you and just really calls you out on certain things that you're doing before it leads into an argument, hold those ones really close.
Yeah.
What are the hidden emotions or emotional reasons behind ghosting, would you say?
I think fear.
It's a big one.
Yeah, fear is a powerful emotion. It probably holds us back from a lot of things, and sometimes that can be very protective, and we need that. And other times, perhaps it really becomes a barrier to having some important conversations, or the idea that maybe you're letting somebody down. or even just sharing with somebody that they've hurt you in some way.
Yeah.
I think fear is pretty
Fear is a
powerful.
big one, especially with ghosting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, men versus women in friendships. Two different dynamics, they're quite different, very much different. Like, why are friendships between women and friendships between men often so different, though?
It's such a good question. I talk to my partner about this all of the time because he'll be out with his friends. And I'll be like, so how was so-and-so? What you guys talk about? What's the life updates? And it's like,
like,
what are you talking about?
Like the little details. We care so much about the little details. They're like, eh.
Yeah, we had a great time. We played some games. That's it. And that's sort of it. And so, my husband will always say to me, he's like, girl, friendships are so different. You have to break up with each other. There's, whereas, perhaps friendships between guys and men, they fade, they come back together. But like, no hard feelings.
No hard feelings. It's true. I've always seen that. It's like nothing happened. They just come back together. Like, okay, girls, it's just like,
I wish I could have like a little bit more of that, perhaps. I could probably use a little bit more of that.
See, so it's a huge difference. Yes. What unique struggles or strength do women's friendships have compared to men's in that aspect?
Well, I think, women, again, we're obviously stereotyping. We're kind of going with the kind of, the majority, but women typically tend to be a little bit more tuned emotionally. And so
that we are.
Tend to want to maybe talk things out a little bit more or tend to be a little bit more vocal about what's not working or, struggles they may be having. And so I think women also probably take things a little bit more personal. Yeah, and
that's true.
I think that's where a lot of miscommunication happens, because really it's the meaning that we make of something and what influences that meaning that we make, like maybe perhaps why a friend is ghosting us or why somebody might be pulling away, really has a huge impact on how we're going to show up. Yeah.
Definitely. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying our segment today. We are talking about friendships. I want to get into a little segment now called the breakup breakdown.
All right.
And just maybe I'll do three top little scenarios of my personal friendship journey and have you kind of tell me what you think went wrong or just a little insight for me, because I'm still struggling to this day as to what went wrong. I just don't know what it is. So I'll basically let you know like what happened and let me know. Let's see you think.
I could do this justice.
The breakup breakdown. All right. So I had a friend. I met her through work. Maybe I knew her for maybe 2-3 years, I want to say. We became real good friends, hung out outside of work. She met my family. We went out together. We always laughed in the office, cracked jokes, and people would always be like, what's going on there? But we really clicked. We connected really well. And then one evening, we were on a phone call together, and someone sent me a voice note. I don't know. It's the thing with the phones. You said you're Android. I'm Apple. I don't know what happened, but I played the voice note while speaking to her because I thought you could do that. And while I played the voice note, it was a funny video, but it started off by saying, "This call is being recorded. This call is not being recorded." And then it got into what the video was about. But when I pressed play, she heard it. And all she heard was, "This call is being recorded." And she's like, "What's that, girl?" I'm like, "You can hear what I'm listening to?" And she's like, "Yeah, what is that?" I'm like, it's a voice note that somebody sent me. I didn't know you could hear that. I'm so sorry." So I stopped playing it.
Right.
She got paranoid. She thought I was recording her. Right away, she ended the call. She's like, I don't do that. I'm done. She hung up the phone and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you could play a voice note and somebody would hear. So I started to like, okay, because she's a little bit paranoid. So I messaged her. I said, hey, sorry about that. Here's the full voice note if you want to hear for yourself. I sent it to her. She goes, you should delete it. I think it's a virus. I think somebody may have gone to your phone. So I said, okay, I'm going to delete it. But I just want you to know it was an honest mistake. I would never record our conversations. Anyways, the next day I thought we were good. I messaged her, nothing. A few days later, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Nothing. She had an event coming up. I'm like, should I still come to your event? Because you're not talking to me. She's like, come to the event. I'm not petty. I'll see you at the event. Went to the event. She didn't talk to me. She didn't want to have nothing to do with me. She sat me at the back.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, why did I come? I honestly left and I cried because I was like, we went from this to like this in a matter of minutes, you know, like, and I was like, how does that happen like that? And I just wanted to know, based on that, we don't talk now. She just left me to be alone. I reached out one last time by calling her from a different number.
We did what we got to do.
You know what I mean? I was like, she's not taking my call. To try and repair. I called her and she answered and she said, hello. And I got so fearful. I was like, hi. And when she knew it was me, she goes, hi, Simone. I'm like, hi. I just wanted to call and talk, you know? She's like, listen, out of respect for your parents, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to talk. Listen, just you know what you did. And then she hung up on me. And I was like, I'm just going to leave it alone. I was exhausted. I just felt like, man, this ain't worth it. And I just said, okay, all right. So I left it alone and we haven't spoken since. In that moment, my thing is, how do you just drop somebody like that? Why did she not find it easy to say what the issue was and try and mend it? Because I just felt like we had nothing. You just dropped me like that. It just really hurt. Yeah. What do you take from something like that?
Yeah. Well, I think that's sometimes, you know, how people deal with, I don't know, something that makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or something that makes them upset. You know, I imagine, and I think I'm hearing from you and you helped me, that, you know, you really wish she could have just talked to you about it.
Oh, I wished.
And you could have had a conversation about it. And she could have shared, perhaps, right, that she was feeling a bit uneasy. Maybe had this worry that you were recording her. You could have shared what you already did, which I think is really wonderful, which is absolutely not. Yeah. You know, I can totally see why that might be what you would think is happening. Here's what I was listening to. You know, provide the context and the information. But sometimes we don't get that chance.
No, I didn't get it at all.
Yeah.
I was like, ah.
Yeah. And it sort of leaves like just this really like unfinished.
Exactly.
You know, feeling that can, you know, leave us feeling a little bit anxious.
And it eats at you a little bit. You know, you just think like, you know, it just it plays over in your mind and you just think, what could I have done different? What can I do? You know, and I think what helped me is my mom. I just went to her with the story and she was just like, it just meant that you guys weren't supposed to really be friends, because if somebody could just chop you off like that, it wasn't real to begin with.
I think your mom's pretty
well. Good.
Shout out to Mom.
You know?
Yeah.
She was like, no friend. Was your friend Kiva in Montreal do that to you? Absolutely not. So what does that tell you? I'm like, but it just eats at you. What do you call that feeling when it's just bubbling inside and you're just like, it's just egging me. I want to fix it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the other thing too. I think as women, oftentimes we're sort of driven to fix things.
Yeah.
To be a little bit more solution oriented. We can talk our way through this. We can, you know, we can fix this together.
Exactly. That's how I felt. I held on to that hope. It's that little beacon of hope.
Yeah. But you know what? That tells me too, though, that you've had experiences in your life, right, that have shown you that that is possible.
Exactly.
Right? Like every relationship is going to have rupture, right? And there's always opportunity for repair. But a lot of people don't have really great working models of what repair looks
like. Yeah.
And so without that kind of working model, we don't really know what to do, you know? And so you were honest, you were open, you know, you apologized.
I apologized.
You continued to reach out and try to make contact and connection. I think you...
I exhausted all my options.
Absolutely. And, you know, of course it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
When all of our attempts at repair don't render us the connection that we're hoping for, or the reconnection that we're hoping for.
Definitely. It took me a while to see it, but I have a therapist and I talked to her about it and she helped me get through that because it was really rough. I kept thinking I was an issue and she kind of said similar things that you were saying and I had to realize, okay, you're going to have to let that one go, girl.
Yes. Time.
You know?
Grieving is a process.
Yeah. She was like, it is grieving and you have to lay that down. You did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
All right. So that was the first one. We're going to get into a second one of the breakup breakdown. Doing good. I like that, you know? Another friend now that I had, I also met her at work. I'm finding a pattern here. These are friends that I meet in the work environment.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but
it actually does.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And Kiva is somebody who I grew up with from child, so maybe you see the difference?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think work relationships, you know, we sometimes form friendships, and there's a name for it, and the word is escaping right now. But you know, we're kind of in similar situations. We're spending a lot of time together like we do tend to at work.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're sort of not forced, but it would almost feel weird or like unnatural to not develop a relationship.
Yeah.
Spend so much time together. Absolutely. But we might not necessarily cross paths or connect outside.
Yeah, outside of work.
Yeah. And we do spend a lot of time at work. So I think it makes a lot of sense that we may find friendships there. But
those are the ones that are breaking. I met this other friend at work. And we got close, connected, and everything. I said, I knew her for maybe over 5 years, because it's the job that I had. But as time went on, I noticed little signs in her that I started to think, maybe, you know, this isn't the right friendship for me. She's someone who I would vent to oftentimes after a bad shift. I would call and be like, you'll never believe what happened. And I just go on. And she would just offer advice and little suggestions. And, you know, it would help me a lot. You know, we would just talk through a lot of bad shifts and what happened and things I could do better. And it really helped. Over time, I noticed everything that I did, she wanted to do. I published a book. She wanted to publish a book. I got a charity. She wanted to do a charity. I was talking to a guy. She wanted to talk to a guy. And I was just like, I don't know, but you're kind of jumping on everything that I'm doing here, you know? And I dress really nice when I go out and stuff. And oftentimes if I dress nice and she had on a nice outfit, she always looked nice, but she would be like, I knew you were going to dress like that. I knew you were going to look really good tonight. Okay, is that a problem?
Right.
Should I, you know, I started to think like, what's wrong with what I look like? But I think it bothered her, little things like that. Yeah. But the breakup came when she kind of came into one of my circles with a gentleman she was speaking to. She knew him for a month. He was my friend, and they secretly got married, and she didn't tell me.
Wow.
She didn't tell me. And I found out in a way where it really hurt. I was like, what do you mean she's married? I was at no wedding. What? And I gave her the opportunity to tell me by trying to be slick, like, hey, so what's going on with you and Tom, you know? And just to hear her say, all right, I can't hold it any longer. We got married. But it never came. She would just say, nothing. And the lies came, and I said, yeah, this is not going to work for me. And so I just kind of stepped away because I felt if we're friends for over that many years, you're talking to someone, you got married, you didn't tell me, I don't think this is going to work for me. And so we ended our friendship basically venting in like an email. I sent her a long email with how I felt and I just left it at that. But it really hurt because she was very close and I really told her a lot of things. If I'm going to jail, you talk to her because she know my stuff. I'm telling you, she knows stuff. And when the breakup happened, I just felt like, man, why did it have to go down like that? Mm-hmm. So my thing with that is somebody that close who you have as a confidant, and the friendship fades. Why does that happen when they hold so much to you? They just part ways like it's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Right. Right. Well, sometimes friendships do naturally fade out. There's kind of like a mutual fading, right? And there's maybe no hard feelings. But this sort of sounds like and feels like it was
building.
Much more than that. It sounds like you felt betrayed.
I felt betrayed. That's the word. I felt betrayed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's a pretty big injury, right? So understandably that, you would have had a problem with that.
Right? But tell me.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, nobody really wants to feel left out or like somebody's holding secrets from them. So I think it makes sense that you were upset at that.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people realize that maybe something that they've done was hurtful, they experience maybe some guilt, maybe some shame.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes holds us back from maybe taking ownership or approaching the person that we've hurt and saying like, hey, like, I recognize this really hurt you. It probably wasn't a great decision. I'm really sorry.
Even that would have been good. Why don't people talk like that nowadays? You know what I mean? Just talk proper.
Right. Like sometimes be so simple.
Yeah. Even if she had done that, it would have been good, but it was very denial, and I knew the truth. And
that can be a bit crazy making too. Like,
yeah, I'm like, did I hear wrong? Did they make it up? But no.
Yeah,
everything.
We were close enough that you would have been able to come and talk to me about something like this. I would have loved to celebrate with you.
Yes. Yeah. Or even that, and so it just kind of perished and died.
Right.
It died.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do those two because I'm getting a little emotional. Okay. And I just want to do those two. But I basically noticed the trend with, it's not easy. They just kind of part ways. And I always ask myself, would I do that if it was me? Yeah. Would I be able to cut clean like that? And so far, I haven't been able to. I'm always saying, yeah, we got to talk. I want to talk to you about something. I'm always the one doing that. And I, in turn, want a friend to approach me the same way.
Absolutely.
So I think those friendships taught me a lot. And it kind of builds you.
I think those are sometimes those reason friendships.
Yeah.
Right? I think sometimes the reason friendships, they are friendships that are there to teach us something. Right? And it sounds like for you, perhaps it's just really refining the kinds of qualities that you're looking for and the people that you're going to let into your life. It sounds like you have a big heart. It sounds like you are an open, communicative human who appreciates honesty and transparency in relationship. And so perhaps... right, welcoming people in who maybe share
those similar.
Well.
Yeah. It's harder now. It's almost like when you are selecting friends, you have to do like a mini interview. Like here's an application,
really like a fashion date, right? We date people to decide if they're gonna.
We gotta do that, check off the box. Like call you in and let you know if you made the cut. But that's how it is in nowadays. I remember every time I go to my mom and tell her about some of these things, she's like, "When I was growing up, it wasn't even like that. Us friends, we never used to hold, as she called it, malice against each other. If something went wrong, by the end of the day, we're together, we're laughing. Nowadays,
it is different.
It's very, very different.
Yeah.
Oprah has a video that's been trending online about friendships. A little bit about what I shared about you cannot have a friend that has a hint of jealousy. Let's take a listen to that clip.
You can't really be friends with anybody who has a hint of jealousy about anything that you're doing. Certainly about your success or your, being celebrated. You cannot.
Or anything that you have.
Or anything that you have. You cannot. I say those little whispers where somebody is like, well, okay. Well, look at you. You cannot. You cannot. You have to distance yourself or you have to cut that thing off.
All right. And when I saw that clip of Oprah just talking about you cannot have a friend just with a hint of jealousy, you have to cut that thing off and separate. I kind of saw that in one of my friends, and I said, I noticed it, but I never really cut it off until it just blew up. And then finally, we want to talk about healing and moving forward, because ultimately the goal is for us to heal. It's really hard to, move on from those friendships that you thought would last for some time. How can someone rebuild trust after losing a friendship?
That's a great question. Trust is oftentimes something we develop actually in childhood, right? From being in some really quality or securely attached relationships. And we kind of carry those beliefs, those traits, those values into adulthood. And so, it makes sense.
Yeah.
When your heart is broken or you're feeling, betrayed, right? That there is going to be a part of you, absolutely, that says, you know what? I don't know that I want to trust again. I don't know that I want to do this again.
Yep.
And so I think in part that's protective, and it oftentimes shows up as an opportunity for us to clarify, what went wrong here? Am I proud of the way that I showed up in the ending of this relationship? Am I, did I do my best to try to create the kind of repair that I hope to see happen? And if you did, I think that is a moment with self.
Yes.
Right? To say, hey, you know what? I did the best that I could. I tried really hard. I'm really proud of how I tried to handle this. And, there's sort of this moment where that helps us rebuild trust within ourselves so that we know the next time we go out, meet somebody, make a friend, that we are going to carry with us, those values and those beliefs, those ways of showing up that are important to us, and really letting the people that we're inviting into our life know that that's important.
Very, very important. And especially now in our 40s, I'm finding it really hard to maintain those friendships. I have friends that it's so hard to book a lunch date. Can we have lunch on Friday? And then something comes up, you're like,
Totally.
You know what I mean? It's so hard to really try and keep those connections by doing small outings or little, connections. But
sometimes because we have different types of friends, right? Sometimes we might be friends with somebody where we just might send each other memes back and forth.
And that's fine. You know what I mean? And that's okay.
Yes, yeah.
That's it. They're good with that.
Yeah. Other people do really value that
in-person connection, yeah.
Sometimes people, appreciate maybe going out with larger groups and really appreciate that kind of energy in friendships. So, I think people appreciate different things.
Different levels of it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Why is it that some women have more male friends than female friends and are more comfortable with their male friends? I gotta say I'm in that box. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable with male friends and I have more male friends than I have female friends.
I wonder if it's because of that, maybe no nonsense. See is what you get.
Yep.
Like smoke and mirrors, or they might not fluctuate, week to week, month to month. I don't know, but I think sometimes it's a little bit simpler.
Yeah.
In male-female friendships, and there's something nice, as life gets more complicated. I think we oftentimes are a little bit more drawn to things that are a little bit simpler, less complicated.
I think that's it. You hit it on the head, man. Because I'm just going through it, and they just laugh more, and they're just funny, and I don't know. If I tell a story, and I'm just I don't know. I make friends with men easier in workplace, or I don't know, but I find it hard to be friends with a female. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
They often don't like me at first, and then when they get to know me, they like me. I'm like,
Yeah, told you.
I'm cool.
Absolutely.
As opposed to a male, they don't really judge or look at you a certain way. They're just neutral.
Yep.
But I find a female be like, I saw you come in with your hair did and everything. I was like, nope, she's bougie. And then down the line, we end up becoming friends. I'm like, Just had to get to know me. You see?
Never judge a book by its cover. Right?
Exactly.
Totally.
That's the piece.
Yeah.
What steps can women take to form that healthier friendships in midlife? Like a nice, healthy friendship.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't got no time for stress right now.
That's true. I think just clarifying for ourselves what is important, like at this stage in our life. So it could be based on our stage. So for example, like I have 2 young kids. My life is chaotic. I run a business, 2 businesses really. And I can't always show up the way I want to.
Me too.
But it doesn't mean I don't love my friends any less. And so I think, finding people who tend to be a little bit more understanding, maybe in a similar stage, right, brings kind of an added level of understanding, perhaps, and empathy, right? And yeah, I think, finding people with shared interests.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Can be really nice too. I don't think every friend has to be this like deep soulful connection.
That's true.
Right? Sometimes I have a neighbor who I adore. Yeah. We go for walks together and we do yoga.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the nature of our connection. I have another neighbor, we are very close. We have children similar ages. They like to play together. And I wouldn't say that it's just a friendship of convenience.
Yeah.
Because I adore her as well. It just works really
well right now.
Easily. And sometimes we need a little bit more ease. Perhaps.
We need a lot more ease.
Yes. Yeah. Simplify. Oh my goodness.
We need a lot
so that we have more
ease.
capacity. Bandwidth.
It's true. This friendship thing, it's something we're all navigating, and I think I'm gonna have to do a part 2, y'all, because it's so much to dissect there, friendships and why it fades, and as you go in different ages, and there's especially about the ghosting. There's so much to unpack there, especially around communication.
Absolutely.
Why it's so important to just have that friend that you can just communicate with, In your personal life, do you have a best friend?
I do.
One best friend, or you have like friends?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say I was thinking about that today, actually, because it's one of my best friend's birthdays today.
Oh, nice.
And so I was like, perfect day to friendship.
Talk about your friend. Shout out.
She's like a later on in life friend. So I met her through work.
Okay.
And, we hit it off, and our relationship has lasted kind of through the years. We've, again, been in similar stages of life. Our daughters were actually due to be born on the same day. What is
nice. Yeah.
They weren't, but and so it's been 11 years. But some people might look at that and say maybe that isn't
a big one.
A long time, or like a lifelong friend.
That's long. Over 10, that's long.
Fair. But I don't have a best friend from high school or childhood.
Oh, yeah.
I have one friend who's really near and dear to my heart. We've just naturally, I think, mutually drifted.
Yeah.
Anytime I go back to Montreal, which is where I'm from, I'll definitely reach out. And if it works, it works. And if not, it doesn't. But I think we're both okay with that, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
So I would say, I have one best friend.
You have one best friend.
One best friend.
See? Shout out to friendship. We have to definitely make those friendships work.
Yeah.
Any advice that you could give to someone listening now, or that male, that female, that's really struggling to maybe approach that friend who they may have issues with or an argument with, or how to heal through grief and the fading of those friendships? Any last little advice?
I think take a deep breath, ground oneself, and sit with somebody that you trust or a therapist, and give yourself some space to talk it through, right? Because sometimes that kind of first pass through, we're all emotionally charged. And when we slow down, we ground ourselves a little bit, we feel seen and heard by somebody.
By someone, yeah.
We tend to be able to kind of dig a little bit deeper and really get to the, what part do I have to play in this? What does that look like? And how do I want to talk about that? And then we try to reach out approach the person we may have drifted from or the person who ghosted us. Because I always say to my clients, like, you need to be able to kind of put your head on your pillow at night and say, like, I did the best that I could.
Look, I could, yeah.
And when we can say that to ourselves, we can then step a little bit easier into perhaps that process of letting go and working through the grief, of that loss. Because it does feel like a loss.
It does feel like a loss.
It totally does.
It totally does, yeah. I love that. You have to be able to put your head down on your pillow at night. My mom said, don't lose no sleep over this. I'm like, oh, gosh.
Yeah.
At first, I did. And then as I went and as you said, and I spoke to my therapist, I had to, sleep better and realize it is. But every now and then you have those little reflections or those little memories that pop up, little things. And those, sometimes your phone brings up photos of those events. It goes on this day, today, last year, and you see pictures and you're like,
Yeah. I call that sometimes like their mini ouchie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this little like, oh, that didn't feel really great.
It's like, did you have to show me that?
I know.
Yes.
I know. It's so important to acknowledge that moment.
Yeah.
Kind of ouchie. And I always say, like, part of what makes me be able to sleep better at night is, and I know it may sound like cliche or cheesy, but it's like, you know what? I'm just going to send out love.
Exactly. Send out love.
No
hard feelings to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Have lots of different
animosity.
Struggles to communicate and to work through conflict. And so I don't need to figure it all out. Yeah. Send out love.
Sending out love to our listeners and viewers. We are sending out love, which brings us into our segment called Good Things Are Coming. This is a segment of our show where I leave my listeners, viewers, with a little positive affirmation to help them get through the week. I'm going to do a little Good Things Are Coming because, and then Jodi, I'm going to have you do a little Good Things Are Coming as well.
All right.
So good things are coming because when one friendship ends, it makes space for deeper, more authentic connections to enter your life. Jodi, you're up.
Oh my goodness.
Good things are coming.
Good things are coming. I think good things are coming because we all deserve good things.
Ooh.
Right? We are all worthy of love and connection, belonging, and, believing in that for oneself is very powerful.
It is very powerful. I love that. Good things are coming. Because good things are coming, hold on to it and make sure you guys repeat these positive affirmations throughout the week. Jodi, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and helping us peel back just a little, the layers of friendships. This conversation was real and so needed, especially now. And I know it will help so many of our listeners and people who are watching navigate the ups and downs of connection. Your insight has given us both clarity and hope, and I'm truly grateful for you. You did a lot, especially when you dissect my little segments there.
Well, thank you for trusting me to do that and opening up, right? That takes a lot of heart.
Yes. Would you like to share with them how they can find you or any information on your work?
Absolutely. So I don't work solo. I have a wonderful team who I work with, and we are available virtually through online therapy, and we also are available in person in Oakville and Tillsonburg, Ontario. And our website has all of our therapists there, which we can hopefully share.
Yes.
Yeah. And we'd love to connect, right? Part of our slogan is like, it takes a village. And again, it may sound cliche, but it's so true. Mm-hmm. Community connection is important, even in healing.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. We will have that information in our little box for you guys. Thank you again for being here. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with a friend, and have that much needed conversation. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.